I'm Meredith.
And I'm Mark.
And we just said goodbye to the traditional American dream in Charlotte, North Carolina, to instead experience a life of adventure right now in Portugal.
We rented our house, packed up some suitcases and our fur baby Charlotte, and created a new life for ourselves.
It's been a wild and glorious ride, full of ups and downs and change and discomfort, but man, are we glad we did it.
And now it's time to give back and help others. If you've ever considered moving abroad, we hope hearing about our journey will help you too.
And if you're considering Portugal, well, we know you're in the right place.
Welcome to Portugal Junkies Podcast.
Adventure is a verb, y'all. Portugal Junkies, we are back.
Hello. Episode 2 of 2025.
That's true.
Yikes.
We're going to continue our conversation today that we started in the last episode about, like, culture shock stuff that happened when we went home for the holiday break, even though we've been back a while. Because I think it's important to talk about this stuff. This is the stuff that, like, after you've lived in the EU or Portugal or any other country, I would assume. And then you go back.
Outside of your own.
Yeah, outside of your own. And then you go back, how different things can look and feel and all of the processing of that. But there were a couple things on our list that we had not talked about in the first episode that are more lighthearted and funny. So we thought we would talk about those things today.
Okay. Well, we should probably have opened with lighthearted and funny first.
No.
We're
setting the tone for what this podcast really is now, which is I'm not editing anymore ever about anything. Not that I really did anyway.
No, I was going to say, didn't really anyway, but
no. At first we thought this podcast, we were like making sure, especially in early 2024, that we weren't like trying to make it a political podcast. But you know what? I'm sorry. Life is life. And the stuff that our friends and family are going through now, you have to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And how it's going to affect us too. I mean, it might affect us very differently than them because they're sitting in the States. But that's what I mean when I say
it still has reach around the globe.
I'm done with, being sweet talker Southerner about it.
Oh, when was that?
Liberal Southerner.
When was that?
I don't know.
Episode 1.
Okay. So let's talk about processing the culture shock, part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back from or spending time in the US and UK, and then coming back to Portugal.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you noticed, or are still processing, or what are the one that comes to mind that is so funny to me, that it's always been something that we talk about since we met, is Mark's angst and irritation for tax to not be included on purchases. Like, it is something, see his face? It is something that
Seriously, get your shit together.
Bothers him so badly. What?
I'm not sure. I think it might be. Is it the only country in the world that still doesn't tell you? I'm not sure.
It doesn't tell you? They keep it a secret?
It doesn't tell you that if you've got the extra 4 cents in your pocket to make that purchase of a Musketeer bar. It wasn't. It was a Musketeer bar.
You never buy a Musketeer, do you?
I used to buy them. Yes.
Did you buy them in the States? You
yes.
always buy Kit Kats now.
Here, because you can't get Musketeer. My point
Musketeer.
My point was that it was a real life thing where I, very early on from being over here, or being in the States from the UK, I went into a shop and I don't know, maybe I had $1.10 or something ridiculous.
It was $1.14.
It was something like that, $1.14, $1.15, but it said 107 on the little label. I thought, oh, sweet, excellent. No, it's just okay.
So what'd you do? Pull out your debit card?
Yeah, I used it.
The inconvenience of the US is ridiculous.
Well, it's not just that. It's just the fundamental point of making you guess what you owe for tax, what you owe for buying a Musketeer bar, what you owe for anything.
Federal income tax.
And then, obviously, that
Obviously.
changes depending on the state. Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
we've opened well this
Yeah.
podcast.
So the fun thing about getting back was knowing
You know
what
what
a
you're
cost
buying.
was.
I think the other thing that we've gotten used to here that we had not really processed until we got there was a lot of places here will have free Wi-Fi.
Mm.
Like 9 times out of 10, if you go to a restaurant, a cafe, sometimes the city will have its own Wi-Fi. But you're wandering the streets, you can get on their free Wi-Fi. It's a beautiful thing. The first time I experienced this was in Sintra.
Yeah.
We were having ginja, which is a
Cherry
sour cherry liqueur that is served to you in like little chocolate cups. You take the shot and then you eat the. It's delicious. But and Sintra is also the home of Pinna Palace, which if you have not looked this place up, you should. It's jaw dropping. Anyway,
Yeah.
that was the first place that I experienced that, and I was like, "What do you mean Sintra Wi-Fi?" And we were sitting there having a drink, and I was like, "Wait, you mean like I'm on the side of the street and I can just get on Wi-Fi right here? It's not like associated with a restaurant or a pub or anything.
Yeah, it's just town.
Just the town."
Providing a service. Thank you very much.
Providing a service. So we had gotten used to that here, and now no more. I mean, in the United States, it's just not as common, I think. I mean, I'm sure in a lot of places that they obviously have Wi-Fi. It's just like, is it public or are they willing to let you connect to it?
Yeah. I think coffee shops and everything like that in the States will have it, of course.
Yeah.
But it's not as
as widespread.
It's not as available.
Yes. I know Pete Buttigieg was working on that for us before he lost his gig.
Anyway, this one is supposed to be the happy stories, not the...
I mean, I would be happy if Pete Buttigieg was more in charge than he is right now.
Yeah, well, We'll move on to the fun, happy stuff.
What else is fun? Oh, tipping. Is this fun and happy?
Can be. It depends. I would say tipping can be a happy thing when you're not forced into it, either by it automatically being added to your bill, somebody chasing you down the street because you didn't leave enough, or, as is over here, you feel that you give a tip just because you've had a nice experience, a nice service.
It's what a tip is.
And it's a tip. It's not it's a 28%, an 18% of a value. You can leave a couple of euros if you want for a coffee or a meal, even like a low price.
It's truly a gesture of thanks.
Yeah.
When you've had a good experience.
So tipping to me can be a nice experience, and it can be a
because when you're in the States, it's gotten ridiculous, and I don't blame the people who are working. I blame the system and like the fact that it's passed on to the customer to make sure that this young girl who might be ready to have a baby soon and waiting on you, that you don't look at her and go, I need to give her like $100 tip because I know she's not getting paid well.
Right.
That's it. It's gotten out of control.
Yeah, I think.
Example.
So the example I was going to say is not recently, but maybe a year or so ago, we were flying back probably from the UK back to the States. This is before we lived here.
Oh, I know where you're going.
And we go to a restaurant in the
airport
at JFK for you got your 4-hour layover or whatever it was, and you go, okay, we're going to go and have a beer, glass of wine, and an entree.
It was Chinese food.
Yeah, and it was $80 for just that, two meals and 2 drinks, and it was $80. But here was the thing: it was you've made out your order and then online, and would you like to add a tip? Well, why would I add a tip yet? I haven't even had any service
Nobody's
yet. And I've done your job for you by ordering it. You haven't even needed to come to the table for me.
They delivered the food. That was it.
Jesus, I mean, again, it's just a different set of rules.
And
Just
then
a
I
different set of
worry,
rules.
and we've probably talked about tipping culture here and on the podcast before. There are times when I worry. I don't know how people really feel about it here, and I should do more asking. But when we have a really good service, we tip. Period. If we have a server who is just like made our night lovely, we're going to tip, whether it's culturally accepted or the norm or not. But what I worry about is that somebody has brought this up to us in the past, where it's like, don't force your cultural things on a
into
country
a system that doesn't ordinarily have it,
because then it disrupts the system. Right? And so I constantly go back and forth about this, because I will not hesitate to give a good tip for someone who has literally made our experience wonderful.
Yeah.
When I'm tempted to tip just because it's like a default for me, it's hard to unlearn that. I feel like I'm doing something wrong when I leave the table and I'm not leaving something.
Right.
So 9 times out of 10, we leave something.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going for a coffee and a sandwich or something like that at a local cafe,
conundrum.
We're just going to put €1 on the table.
Yeah,
because it's
a
just
gesture.
like a tip of the cap. It's an
think about
acknowledgement.
If you have 2 coffees, it might be €4 or €5. So you're leaving another euro. That's what, 25%? 20? It's like you. So you're thinking, and that's just a gesture. That's not a lot of money. I'm just saying, like, if you're really looking tit for tat on like equivalents of percentages that you're leaving for people, like, it just feels, sometimes I don't know what to do. And I know that I have been conscious of what people say, and I have also felt what I feel when I feel like I should be tipping someone. So it's just, it feels sometimes like I'm doing this with the tipping. But we typically err on the side of tipping.
I would sooner tip a little bit
as a gesture,
and have somebody say, you're upsetting the balance of the economy. For €1 or 2, I don't really think I am.
That's right.
What I would rather do is walk away feeling good that might go for them, and they might have a coffee or they may have a beer. Right. Whatever they do, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But I would sooner do that than walk away. Because also when I go back, it's not that I want them to remember me and give me that next level of service, because I think they're going to do that anyway. I just think it's a nice thing to do when it's not forced upon you, when it's not an expectation of something.
Yes.
That person is going to give you, generally speaking, fantastic service without the expectation of a tip. The fact that you give one, I think that kind of really blows their world.
Yeah.
And I don't mean
blows their world.
Yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily the
they
right
know
way
that they're
to put
really appreciated.
Yeah.
Not it. Yeah.
So
can we take a pause for a top up? Okay.
We don't need to take a pause. Here's one I prepared earlier.
Oh my God, you had it here. I would have asked earlier for that. Okay, while Mark pours our top up.
There you go.
My dear, sweet listeners, I say this with all the love in my heart. If you haven't traveled in beautiful Portugal yet, what are you waiting for? You are missing out big time. Iconic beaches, delicious wine, centuries of history, and honestly, some of the most beautiful people that you will ever meet. Why do you think we moved here? So, when you're ready, we are ready to help you plan the most perfect customized Portugal itinerary just for you, and more importantly, how you like to travel. Family trip with the kiddos, lazy girl travel, history buffs, foodies, combinations of all of those, we got you. After exploring Portugal since 2022 and then immigrating here, we're really excited to build travel plans for you that help you see this gorgeous, special place by understanding the way that you like to travel. Book a free call with us right now on our Stan store at stan.store/PortugalJunkies, and we'll talk through your ideal trip and start planning your customized Portugal itinerary. You'll even get your final itinerary on an app to use during your trip for easy access right on your phone while you're here. Remember, adventure is a verb, y'all. We're excited to help you plan yours.
Oh,
Let's talk about,
I've leaked.
on the flip side of things, because I know that we've literally been talking about like
Tipping.
kind of the want negatives about being home, because it did feel challenging to us. That's the truth.
Mhm.
But let's talk about the things we missed. Let's talk about like when we got there, like, oh, I missed this. Anything?
What, in the States?
Yeah.
Well, I know your first one is going to be creamer.
It is. Let me take a sip of my wine first.
Oh, God.
It was coffee creamer, y'all. It was
I
the
know.
good old International Delight, or what's
Coffee
the other
Mate.
one? Coffee Mate, hazelnut, sugar-free.
Mhm.
And I know that when I say that, what I should be saying is chemical-laden, disgusting, cancer-causing, whatever. But I really miss that in the morning. Now, coffee is really good here, but we do have like a pod machine, right? Like that kind of coffee. So I typically add something to it. I add either light cream or milk or whatever. Or we have a pod that is a galao, which is a milky coffee, all in one pod.
Mm-hmm.
But I do miss just like really strong coffee, either by pod or coffee pot.
Mm-hmm.
And then pouring that deliciousness in my cup. So when I got home, what did my family? They had like 4 different choices for me on the creamer.
Swear.
They did, which was such an act of love because they knew.
No, that's
I really
wonderful.
miss that.
That's fine.
Did you not like it when you were there drinking that coffee that way? Didn't it take you back?
No, because I didn't
It
have
felt chemical to
I didn't
you?
have as far back to go as you. Like,
Yeah, I know.
So not really. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it every now and then.
Yeah.
But it's not one of those oh my goodness moments.
Was there any oh my goodness moment for you?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I don't know. I enjoyed what we ate. I enjoyed what we drank. But it wasn't some sort of aha moment of, oh my goodness, I didn't realise how much I missed X.
Yeah. And I think that might be different because you had already immigrated once. Like the US was your initial immigration.
Right.
And you had to get used to all those things. Like when you go and you have your sticky toffee pudding with custard.
Yes.
He has these moments in
absolutely.
the UK.
Right. So I would say this, that I missed more things when I went back to
home.
Back to the UK.
Yeah. Well, what did you miss there?
Sticky toffee pudding.
True custard.
Lamb, like a good cut of lamb.
Yeah.
Crumpets.
Oh, Warburton's.
Warburton's crumpets.
Well, we found them here.
Yes, we have. Thank you, Simon. I don't know. There was a couple of other things. Drinks wise, again, found it here. Robinson squash, orange squash.
Let's talk. Let's decipher that for the viewers and the listeners.
It's really simple.
It's not a squash like a vegetable.
It's a cordial that you add water to. So it's a concentrated juice. Okay,
everybody needs to think about like the canned orange concentrate that we used to get, that our parents used to add water to and make orange juice. That's similar, except not frozen. It comes in a bottle, like a liter, like a soft drink bottle, but it's not fizzy. And you pour it into your glass and then you add water and it becomes this lovely juice from concentrate. But he calls it...
It's a squash.
I don't get it. But it's good.
It's called orange squash because it's
orange flavored.
It's like oranges that have been squashed into the bottle. Hence, squash.
Oh, I get it. Wow. That took me 8 years.
Good grief. So yeah, I think there was probably more things I noticed that I'd missed in England than I noticed that I missed in the States.
Yeah. It's funny how I feel like these things over over the course of like the 15 months we've been here, they get less and less.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I
Especially
find
when you
that
can
really
find
interesting.
Yeah, especially when you can find one or two of them here.
Or not even, like, just things that, yeah, make you reminisce or take you back, or there's just something about those things, or that ritual is really a ritual for me with the coffee and the creamer and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see the progression of like how, oh, I really missed that for the first 3 or 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just less and less and less and less because you just become used to what your new normal is.
And I think that's true. I mean, if you remember back to when we moved to Porto, we were going to every single supermarket, El Corte Inglés, Continent,
Looking for things.
Looking for a darned creamer or any sort of creamer.
They don't exist.
They just didn't exist. Or if they do, they're really well hidden.
I did see something the other day where this person on TikTok made her own creamer using like dates.
Oh, wow.
She would like she kind of made a date milk or something, which would be equivalent to a caramel flavored. And
That's
I was like,
cool.
maybe I should just try that.
That's pretty cool.
Who knows? Anyway, these things that you miss really bad at first, I feel like lessen and lessen and lessen because you either find that this is your new normal and that this is worth it, or you just get away from it so much that you don't miss it as much. Right. It's almost like time allows you to not be so hurt or just with anything, with like grief and all that other stuff. The more time you give it, the less its impact is on a daily basis. Right.
Or it, like you say with this person with the date milk, you know, it kind of not pushes you, but it kind of gives you the opportunity to seek out the raw ingredients
and make it
your own.
Yeah.
Like salsa sauce. You know, we go to the market and we buy all the bits and pieces and you make it.
Salsa sauce means salsa. Just salsa.
SALSER, whatever.
No. That's all princess salsa.
I know.
Anyway, I do make salsa here.
You do.
Because I've learned how to do it. I do the Chili's copycat recipe of salsa typically. But we have such beautiful, fresh ingredients at our mercado that, like, we'll go down there, or even just order it, or get it at the store. I'll order fresh tomatoes, and I will zhuzh them up in my little NutriBullet, and cilantro, and all that other stuff. It's just something that, like, we don't find here. We don't find a lot of Mexican restaurants. We don't find a lot of Tex-Mex anything. We don't find a lot of spicy food in that realm either. And so if I find hot peppers, I'm making salsa. Or we've had friends go to the Costco in Spain, which is like not even 2 hours from here, and they'll bring home canned jalapenos because they're available in Spain, but they're not necessarily available here. Right. So you just figure it out and
you make the best
of it. And you know that when you see something on the shelf and it's rare, you buy it.
Nothing that you're going to miss is going to kill you.
It doesn't.
It really doesn't. You might feel like it in the moment.
You can yearn for it, but it's like, you know.
There's a difference.
Or you can just enjoy it. Like I said, with the coffee creamer at home, you know, I enjoyed it because it was a moment where I'm like, oh my God, my first morning home in my family house on the lake with my parents, having a coffee with creamer in it. It felt like, oh, I know this. Right? Yeah. It's really the feeling that it gives you more than the thing, I think. Yeah. So.
And for me, it was a cup of tea, but that's kind of normal to hear as well.
Yeah. The other thing that I really missed when we were home that I really enjoyed, we did take a day away, a night away when we were at home with my family to spend a night in one of our favorite places in the North Carolina mountains.
Yeah, Blowing Rock.
Which was Blowing Rock. And if you've never been there, you should really go.
Check it out.
It's a tiny little town up in the mountains. And after Hurricane Helene, is it Helene, right?
I think so.
We were just so like worried about our special places up there. We got married in Asheville, and there's just so many places around there that we've spent so much time, and it was devastated. Yeah. A lot of those areas were devastated. Blowing Rock, not one of them, thank goodness. So we got the notice, like, even after Christmas, that they still are, they're like wanting tourists to come back. They're wanting people to come back. So we're like,
Don't
we need to go
lock
there
down.
support them because that's what we would have done anyway.
Yeah.
And that was lovely.
It was.
It was one of those
It
things
really
where
was.
you're back in a place that means something to you that's not your home, but it's special to you.
Yeah.
So I really loved that. It made me sentimental. It made me miss that. It made me I don't know, you realize that it's not as accessible to you. So you take it in more because you can't hop over to Blowing Rock in 2 hours
Right.
like we used to. So, but that was really good.
Yeah, it was
It was
absolutely
nice
lovely.
to go and visit some of those places that we know are always waiting for us, but you don't get to as much and as often.
But again, it's now finding new places that offer that same level of feeling or meaning here to go and experience on a local level.
Yeah. I already feel that way about Porto, even though it was not our place. I look back at some of our video and our pictures and just experiences that we had there, and I'm like, oh, it will always be special.
Yeah.
Because it was our first stop in Portugal, and even though it ended up not being the place that we wanted to stay, we learned so much there. So it's like I will always be sentimental about Porto.
Without a doubt.
100%.
Without a doubt.
Hey babe, how many times do you think that we rode the should we or shouldn't we move to Portugal roller coaster before we actually did it?
I don't know, maybe like 193 times.
Wouldn't it have been so cool if we had us during that time, to talk to?
Absolutely, I'd love talking to us.
Me too! So, we've decided we are going to be the us we needed for you guys. If you want to shoot the shit, ask us anything, or just get some real life perspective from our experience of moving from the US to Portugal, we are now opening up our calendar for one-on-one calls. We can also hook you up with some of our best legal, immigration, and tax partners who helped us along the way. You can choose a mini call for 30 minutes, or if you're talky-talky like me, an hour, and we'll hop on Zoom together to answer anything we can for you as you try to decide what's best for you in your potential move to Portugal. Book with us right now on our Stan store at stan.store/Portugal Junkies, and we'll see you there.
I don't know. I enjoyed going back in the most part. There are certainly certain factors that I didn't necessarily enjoy about being in those places. And I was very, very happy to know that, we were all, quotes, wheels up with the dog coming back to Portugal. That made me so relieved. It was a big let out of air.
Mom and Dad, if you're listening, don't be mad. But I was ready to come home. And home was here. And part of that felt a little guilty. Part of it meant that we had chosen correctly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just knew I was ready to be here. And the minute we got here and stepped off the plane and I literally breathed in the Portugal air, I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it other than it is weird to get to that point where your home, your country, doesn't feel as much home to you anymore as the new place does. And no place is perfect.
No, not at
but
all.
It does feel like good.
Yeah.
It feels peaceful. And that, again, at this stage of my life, of our life, it feels like that's what we're searching for more than anything else.
Yeah.
We have lived the crazy life. We have lived the corporate life. We have lived the stressful and anxiety-ridden life. And we don't want it. We just don't want it. And so I don't know how you actually find that in the States these days.
Honestly, I don't know if you could.
And I feel like...
without a shit ton of money.
Right. I feel like our choice to come here has been one that has resulted in a peaceful life for us. Yeah. And so that was what I was eager to get back to. and I immediately felt it.
Yeah.
When we got here.
Yeah, and I didn't feel the same. I don't think I felt the same level of anxieties going back to the UK as you did going back to the US. And I think there's
No.
obviously different.
There's reasons for
different
that, though.
obvious reasons for that.
They have more sanity than us.
Yeah. Well, okay,
Most.
ish. But again, not trying to make it all about a bashing, but there's
No.
definitely differences about where you go in whatever country you go to, all the rest of it. And as you just said, no place is perfect, and that means Portugal as well.
Of course.
You can't come here thinking, "Oh my God, I've signed up for the happy life." Hopefully, that's what you're going to get. But make no mistake about it, it's going to be work, it's going to be effort, it's going to be tears, it's going to be sweat.
It's a transition.
It's all of those things and much more. But if you truly want to change something, you've got to start with putting one foot in front of the other, because otherwise nothing will change.
It's true. And I will always be proud of us for doing that.
Yeah,
I
without a
will
shadow of a
always
doubt.
be proud of, hey, I don't know if it's going to end up being as peaceful as we want it to be, but look at where we are.
Right.
We are. It's peaceful, and we've chosen a beautiful place to live, and we've met friends who are just our lifeline here, and all of
Yeah.
those things combined make it a situation where I can't wait to get home to it.
Right.
And that makes me really proud, because it kind of reinforces what we chose.
the original thought about why we would want to
Yeah.
come here still remains true. Okay, it's 15 months,
Yeah.
just not a lot of time,
No, but it is a lot
but
of
it's
time.
still a chunk of
Time
time.
has flown. It's crazy.
I mean, yeah. When you said earlier, it was like, oh, it's 15 months. I was like,
Yeah,
shit,
we've already
what?
while we were gone,
Oh.
we passed our anniversary of our AMA visa visit, which is the second appointment that you have to get your true card, your residency card. And that was in February. And so it's been a year since we've gotten that golden ticket that says, okay, you're cool now. You can go in and out.
Yeah,
You're good.
there's no restrictions on your travel.
And so the next step for us is the renewal at the 2-year mark, or probably delayed.
Well, yeah,
But
quotes 2-year mark.
anyway, there are things about our trip home that make me sad. There are things about it that have reconfirmed for me that
Absolutely.
I'm so glad we did this. I'm so glad we did it when we did it, because we had no idea what was coming, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I never thought we would be where we are in the United States right now. And
I think you should stop calling it United States, because there's
Let's not
nothing
go there, right?
there's nothing united about it.
God. And I just, honestly, I'll be honest, I wish I could scoop up every family member and friend and person that I care about and say, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Because I don't know where we're headed. And that is my gut instinct. And I know that it would be a crazy outcome if my parents ever did that. But it doesn't stop me from wanting it.
No, absolutely.
So I wish they would come over here.
I wish they would. I mean, I wish Mum would. Not to escape anything, but just because then she's closer by.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know she's not, and it's not as bad.
Yeah.
That on a daily thing that she has to face versus what a lot of people in the States do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a toughie.
Yeah.
But we made the right choice for us.
We totally did.
And that's the
we
main
totally
thing.
did, and I'm gonna always be proud that we did that.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
But we'll be back
for episode 3.
Our next episode, and we're excited to be back.
Yeah.
We're happy that you guys are along for the ride and have been so comforting for us, or I would say like confidence building for us. You guys have reconfirmed for us that we are putting valuable content out there, and hopefully you like joining us every week. So.
Yeah. And again,
we'll be here.
it's so nice to know that getting back into this and trying to put into words our experiences and put it out into the world, because when it's out there, and you realize it. And so I just think to try and encourage anybody that's thinking about it, just do it, or at least take marked steps to
truly consider
really understand, is it what you want?
It's not for everybody, but it might be for you.
Not by any means. So yeah,
like it was for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And
not without sacrifice, and not without
tears,
uncomfortable, and tears, and all the things. Like, I look back now, I never have tears. Never have tears now about moving here, but it was odd at the beginning. It was a weirder transition for me than it ever was for you, and there were reasons for that, which we talked about on this podcast.
And we'll probably talk about it.
And we probably talk about it again. But it is one of those things where it's like, you get through that kind of awkward period of like, who am I? What have I done? What are we doing? Type of thing. And you're like, damn, this is fun. This is life. This is adventure. Yep. This is living instead of just going with the status quo.
It would have been so much easier to stay in our lovely home with our good jobs and friends and family just around the corner or up the road or whatever. That would have been the easy thing.
Could have been really boring too.
And scary now.
And that would be much more scary to me.
Right. So always looking for something different. At least we found each other to be able to do it with.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cheers, y'all. We'll see you next time.
See you very soon.
Listen up, future expats. For more content about our move, the visa process, Portuguese culture and destinations, and tons of support resources for your own decisions and potential move abroad, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Portugal Junkies.
Stay in touch and help us reach more people by subscribing here and following us there.
Cheers, y'all.